Today, we're going to be going over the basics of how to shoot on film, from picking your film camera to your film stock and learning how to properly expose a photo. So here we have two different types of film cameras. This is my Canon AE-1. It's an SLR, which means single lens reflex, and it's basically fully manual. And then here we have your basic point and shoot, which is kind of like a disposable camera where it's pretty much automatic. There's not a lot of buttons going on here, and it's a little more casual. So if you're not yet ready for manual settings, this is a perfectly good way to start shooting on film. And over here we have some different types of film. There are so many film stocks out there, but these are some of the ones that I like to shoot on. And if you pay attention to the canisters, there's some numbers on here. So this one says 200, this one says 800, this one says 400, and that is going to be your ISO. And ISO is the film's sensitivity to light, and that is important when you're choosing what kind of film stock you're going to get depending on what you shoot, because if you're shooting in the middle of the day, you're probably going to want something like a 200 ISO because that's going to be less sensitive. And then if you're shooting at night, you're probably going to want like an 800 or higher. Now it's time to load our film. So you're going to open the back of your camera and then drop the roll in to the side here. And then you're going to pull out some of the film and feed it into this take-up spool on the other side. And you're going to want to wind up the film and press the shutter a few times just to make sure that the film is loaded properly. And then once you close the back of the camera, you're going to want to advance it about 2 to 3 more times just to make sure that none of the new film has been exposed to light. Basically, a camera is just a box that captures light, and you need to tell it how much light to let in. On the lens here, you have your aperture, also known as f-stop, and that is based on how much light your lens will let in. It can be a little confusing at first, but the lower the f-stop, the more open the lens is. So f2 is going to be wide open, and it's going to let in the most amount of light, while f22 is going to be basically closed and barely let light in. And this also affects depth of field. So f2, you're going to have a shallow depth of field, and there's going to be a nice soft background, whereas f22 is going to be more of a deep depth of field, and most things will be in focus. And here is where you set your ISO, and this is where you set your shutter speed. And shutter speed is based on a fraction of a second, and you shouldn't really shoot slower than 1/60th without a tripod. And when you look in your viewfinder, you should see a light meter, and that's going to help you expose your photo. So when you have pressed down on the shutter, it's going to tell you what f-stop you should be at. And the last step is rolling your film back up. Make sure you press this button at the bottom of your camera before you roll your film back up, otherwise your film might tear. Most rolls of film have about 36 exposures, so it kind of forces you to be a little bit more intentional with your shooting. Well, that's everything you need to know about how to shoot on film. I hope you learned something. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you want more film and photography content. Thanks, and see you next time.